Let's take it away, Chad, for the trade banger.
All right, this is the trade banger of the week. The one deal that's too good, too bad, or just too wild not to talk about. If you've got a trade that shook up your league, send it our way. It might be next week's banger. This week we have a submission by Phil R. Phil sent us an email, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Then we can discuss. Sounds like a plan, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
All right. Here's from Phil. Hey guys, love the show so far. Been listening to been listening since the first episode. I wanted to get your thoughts on a trade I just made, or in parentheses, maybe overpaid for, in my Dynasty league. I'm in the later stages of a rebuild, and a contender in my league came to me needing to replace Joe Burrow's production after his injury. He sent me this offer. I receive Joe Burrow, Xavier Worthy, and a 2026 late contender second. And Phil sent Justin Herbert and Breece Hall. Interesting. With the injuries, I figured grabbing them while they're on the shelf and cashing out on my Herbert buy low for the offseason could help accelerate my rebuild. I like the idea of potentially getting Xavier Worthy when Mahomes' production with less talented players has been impressive. Do you think I'm getting enough here? Thanks for breaking this one down, Phil. Interesting. There's a lot here. Austin, let's start with you. I know you're a Burrow guy, constantly trying to push him up your board every offseason, trying to convince yourself, get him as high as he can go, right? Nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
Let's start with the main piece of the deal here, which is, in my opinion, going to be the quarterbacks, right? How far apart are these guys? You know, and what's that outlook? And I'm talking about now, post injury with Burrow, post, Herbert looking like the MVP. How far apart are they, and what's the outlook in your mind going forward?
In a vacuum, they're probably going to be neck and neck currently. And if somebody is a contender and has Herbert, you're not going to be able to trade him Joe Burrow. So there are times like where in Phil's instance where he's rebuilding, he wants to take this quote unquote loss in value with Burrow and believes in him better long term more than Herbert, and I understand that. So for me, being we have 15 weeks of football left, you kind of have to put Herbert and Burrow in the same tier, relatively the exact same price. Obviously, being a huge Burrow fan and honestly a huge Herbert fan, seeing how they're using the offense is really nice with the Chargers. So, I guess they're about even. The outlook is going to start looking a little bit more timid for Burrow if he is not really, if the Bengals are not able to figure some kind of offensive line help for him. If this offseason we don't hear that they're bringing in this tackle and this guard, this center, something along those lines, people are going to start getting nervous because, and it's got to be almost 3 years in a row, 3 or 4 years that he's been hurt for a period of time. We don't technically know how long yet, but it's a little worrisome. It definitely makes me a little timid. It's just when he's out there between his weapons and his skill, he typically puts up points minus the beginning of the season. And of course, now he gets hurt at the beginning. So we didn't even get any good this year.
Yeah. And I wonder if I lost my point.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I thought it was interesting about, the hesitation starting to kind of build with people in Burrow and just what you have to pay to get them, right? Because no matter what, people are going to want they're going to want Burrow prices for Burrow, right? No matter what. But I think the people approaching to pay that may start to get less and less as, these injuries start piling up in people's minds. And I kind of see that with myself already. Like, man, am I willing to go out there and pay the Burrow prices knowing, some of this O-line play has been consistently bad the entire time he's been there.
I remember what I was going to say. I wonder if the slow starts in the beginning of the season are going to add to that at all.
No, because he's so dominant when it clicks. I mean, okay, just don't start him for a couple weeks. Start Daniel Jones this year. Start Russell Wilson this year. You know, like if you're
No.
that worried about it on your
No.
dynasty roster, that's a mistake
Yeah.
to begin with.
Right on.
For redraft, sure. If you want to try to trade for him after week 3, okay. But in dynasty, I'm not going to worry about 3 slow weeks when he goes and puts up basically top 2-3 numbers the remainder of the year.
Right on. Especially in Superflex. If you
Yeah.
have a second quarterback that can kind of carry you.
One thing with with Burrow, he's been hit on 20% of his dropbacks since entering the NFL.
It's crazy.
That is an outstanding number. I mean, like people were comparing him to Luck, and Luck
yeah.
was like 6% lower.
Jeez.
So, I mean, they have to figure something out. I mean, he's way too talented of a player, and thank the Lord he's as good as he is against pressure, or he would have already been cracked.
It's interesting talking these two players and these two teams because of how different it is. Because we love Burrow because of the weapons he's got, and he's got them now for a long time, right? And T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but like around Justin Herbert, while maybe we all like Ladd, but he doesn't have the top tier weapons. But they have built that O line in Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, who Slater's hurt too. But they built it the right way around Herbert, and I like. Honestly, I think Herbert and Joe Burrow right now, where they're at, like Austin was saying, straight up in a vacuum, would be equal. The Breece Hall side. So the way that I see this trade, and so then it's Breece Hall for Xavier Worthy in a second, and I'll take Breece all day with that. I think his talent's just too good, and he's shown it so far. So I think Phil probably should have pushed more for his content. That guy's content.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll dig into that a little bit here in just a moment.
Mike, hold on. I'm sorry. I need to interrupt. Mike, you're not recording. You need to come back. But to continue this a little bit, I was curious about that Xavier Worthy piece and whether I was thinking, could I replace it with that person's first? Just because I don't like being committed to a player. So
here,
Worthy
Jesse,
still
let me
worth
ask
the
you.
first?
Let me ask you a question. Because let's move on from the quarterbacks here. Now that we're bringing up other players, we've when I'm buying low on injuries, right? I think that's a fair strategy. I think a lot of people, that is their strategy in a rebuild, going in saying, okay, how can I buy low and take advantage of these guys that, it's not the talent, it's not the production, it's just the injuries. But when I'm doing that, I'm thinking to myself always, am I buying low enough, right? Am I forcing this just because the player's injured? And I think it may be in my mind a little bit of a dip, or, am I just, forcing this to go through? Again, I know Burrow's the type of guy that people are going to want fair value on. So that's that. But Jesse, with that Breece side and that Xavier Worthy, component in there in the second, is Phil buying low enough in respect to Burrow for those other guys' value to make up the difference?
Well, no, he's not. I mean, the Breece part of it is I think where he made a mistake. He could have gotten that done with a lesser player. Yeah, we can debate whether Xavier Worthy is worth a first, or if you can make that second into a first. But really what it comes down to is Herbert and Breece Hall probably should be different trades for him, right? So Herbert plus a different piece, a lower level piece than Breece Hall, especially with the start. I know he had a second, his second game wasn't good, but he showed what the potential is in that offense this season. And I think he's worth probably multiple firsts at this point. So can we talk about what that piece would, what running back, let's just say we have our choice of any running back to replace Breece with, what level are we talking about?
Probably like Chuba is the first name that came to my head. Okay.
I really like Chuba.
Maybe ETN.
JCM. Yeah, ETN's a good one. Because I like everyone else in the Dynasty world, am alternately in and out on ETN. It's almost every carry. It feels like, oh crap, he's done. Oh crap, he's not done. You know what I mean? He's just such a volatile player that I think that's great because I don't think he's going to gain a ton of value from where he is now, but he could absolutely, the bottom could fall out with a guy like him, especially with Tootin on
Well,
his
with
wrist.
them moving Bigsby, ETN's floor really goes up now.
Yeah, but he's not. They declined the 5th-year option, right? So how's he look on the open market?
I mean, I think he's a talented enough player, unlike Chase Brown that I mentioned this offseason. I think ETN's a talented enough player to go to a lot of offenses and succeed. So I actually like that opportunity if he does go, if they believe in their 4th and their 7th round rookies to go for the future and ETN gets to go somewhere else. I don't necessarily hate that. So I think that would be a nice piece for the contender side to even the trade out, quote unquote. But for me, looking at the trade, the first thing I thought was instead of Xavier Worthy, I want Rashee Rice in there. That's how I would like to even the trade out. Obviously, we don't know who Phil was trading with and if they have them, but in a vacuum, looking at that trade quickly, give me the other Kansas City receiver.
That's much different. That changes things entirely. Yeah, I do like that. So, you'd have to say equivalent value, but that name really works really well because he's not playing right now.
Correct.
So contender could give him away. Where's the Ayuk on that meter, by the way?
He's really down until we see it.
Down,
I'm a huge fan, but I mean,
he's like a second, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're pushing a second right now, and that's really all you're getting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it might be a little bit of an overpay here, Phil. If we're being honest with ourselves, but Xavier Worthy's a big question mark. I'm not high on him myself personally, but a lot of people really are. And if he does hit in Kansas City, if he's able to play that role that even Hollywood played week 1, right, and sees a fraction of those targets, what do you get, like 15,
16,
yeah, something crazy. So there's missing components in that offense that is just waiting for somebody to step in, and if he does, all's not lost here. So
we'll for sure
we'll find that out, I guess, in the near future here. But one more question for you guys, since we've got Mike dropped out here for a little bit, figuring his own stuff out. Let's exit the vacuum a little bit.
Okay.
Let's step into Phil's league. We talked about who we thought really won the trade here, but with the given context that Phil's adding, he's in the tail end of the rebuild. A contender is knocking at his door, right? Begging him for help. Like, let's say, Mike, since you're back here now, Mike, let's say you're the beggar.
Welcome back, Mike.
Yeah. Mike's the beggar, and Mike's outside Phil's house, and he's groveling just a little bit for some super flex help.
Of course he is.
Yeah, of course.
I always do that.
Such a Mike thing to do.
Yeah.
Would you have expected to give up more for the return of Herbert and Breece personally? I guess, since you were gone, I want to know that first. And then what would that be in your mind specifically?
Yes, I would probably be expecting to give up my contenders first in this situation, whether it's like a 1-3 swap or maybe even a 1-2 swap. I don't know, but yeah.
And if Phil, let's say Phil like kicked at you, he was like, "Filthy beggar, you're not getting my my super flex points." What would you have given up? What would have been like the final offer here to try to get it done?
If I was the guy trading with Phil?
Yeah, if you're the contender.
Yeah, I would try. I would give up my first, and I would try hard to get a second back. If I couldn't, then I'd try to get like a third. And that's kind of where the final offer would be for me.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Let's. I think we kind of all made our opinions known here, but I just kind of want to end these on just a quick question. An important one though. Who won? I'm going to go one by one. Don't expound on it. Just yes or no. Mike, did Phil win?
No, I'm going to say the contender won.
Jesse?
No.
Austin?
He did not.
Good stuff, fellas. Audience, please send in your trades. You can get us at dynfo.official@gmail.com. One more time, that's dynfo.official@gmail.com. Send it in. Be good to us like Phil is, and you might be next week.
This has been Front Office.
Peace.
All right. Catch us on YouTube. YouTube at Dynasty Front Office, Twitter Front Office FF, and click on the Discord link.
Can't believe you guys cheated me out of this game.
Can you hear anything I say?
I'm gonna have to mute that out.
I heard that.